Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious here, back in the bunker. Purple State Party. All things American, all things center, and all things with common sense. Let's get it on. Ah, there we go. Look at that. Now I got shit hanging everywhere. So, this week's kind of defined by a few things, I guess. I'm going to start with a few of those, and then move on to the fun stuff. Just the silly, wacky stuff that I found, or things that irritated me one way or the other. Yep, make sure that light's on. Good. So, this week, Rush Limbaugh passed away from lung cancer, not COVID, believe it or not. That's what I actually heard from dumbass family member who is a liberal, doesn't pay much attention. Of course, he, like a lot of other liberals, were glad he was dead and all that, and whatever. Haters are going to hate, like they said in the song. And, if people want to be vile and vicious, I'm sure it cuts both ways. So I'm not really going to condemn anybody. That's, if you truly believe that you're glad that somebody's dead, then fine, whatever, He wasn't really that bad of a person. He just had a differing opinion. I didn't even agree with him. I didn't really, every now and then he'd come on, but he was not somebody I like to listen to local that focuses more on my state, because that's truly where the battle is. I don't live in the federal government, so to speak. I have to worry about, what's right outside my back door. But, you can't discredit the guy for his opinions. He was a good guy, as we see here. He donated to children's hospitals. By all accounts, he was a nice guy. And just like a lot of us, we have a personality when we go on the air. And, whatever. I mean, whatever. But don't get caught up in all the hate. I'm sure by now it's died down, but, don't worry about it. That's what people are going to say. Let them put their true colors on display for the world to see. Another big story, Texas. I know people in Texas, and families had to move in with other families who still had power, because, in some areas, depending on what's close by, hospitals, police stations, things like that, airports, they have better grids, or they got to divert power to that particular section of the grid, whatever. So families had to move in, which is not good in the COVID crisis. And again, this is one of those things where everybody's taking sides, and obviously solar and wind is not going to work in this, and they get a lot of theirs from natural gas, coal, gasoline, and some of those were shut down for repairs or upgrades, and some failed. But you got to just blame Mother Nature. I mean, that's the way you look at it, in the middle. Shit happens. Most of these things we think somehow the government can, make it go away, but they can't. I mean, we've seen that with the COVID. It doesn't really matter what you do. Something like that strong-ass virus, it's going to make its rounds. Nobody's going to stop it. Nobody's going to stop a winter storm like that. And a lot of people are trying to spin it that it's climate change, but yet, they have this kind of weather. This is a once-in-a-century storm, and that's what happens. Once in a century, things go all out of whack. I mean, keep in mind, at one point on this planet, the Sahara Desert was a jungle. So things have changed. There used to be land in between England and mainland Europe. It was called Doggerland. You can look it up. It was there. Things have happened. And I'm not saying that we're not polluting the planet, but I'm also a bit skeptical of our actual impact. When you look at history and you see that these kind of weird things have happened before. This was just to liven the mood a little bit. People who moved to Texas from California finally feeling at home now that the power is out. And again, I've heard wonderful discussions about comparing Texas to California with this energy thing, but theirs failed under a snowstorm. Ours fails just under the normal heat of summer that we get every year. And I don't necessarily think that that's a political issue, but Texas is not the one making the push for electric vehicles either. So another one that came out was somebody on the teachers union got recorded saying that, hey, the parents want their babysitters back. And that's kind of a sad day, isn't it, man? Where the people who we entrust to, essentially help us raise our children, look at them like they're just babysitting. I come from a family of teachers. I know that that's not the way that all teachers think. I know some make more difference than others. But enough is enough. Here in California, man, they're throwing the weight around. And it feels like they're throwing their weight around just to throw their weight around, just to remind, politicians, who's boss. And that's one of the issues I've always taken with the whole idea of lobbyists. People, throwing around money to make politicians make one-sided bad decisions, that are only in the best interest of one person or one group. Because the teachers being gone is leading to scarring of children. Forget about high schoolers. Yeah, they could probably manage online, but kindergartners, pre-K, first graders, second graders, these are vital points in their life and in their educational life. And for them to have to do it online, I just don't get it. Like, I mean, what would we do if the police stop arresting bad guys, or firefighters stop putting out fires, or surgeons stop operating on horrific wounds? And this is on par with that. We have teachers who don't want to go back to work. Why aren't they forcing their union? I don't. The union's supposed to work for the teachers, not the other way around. So another one, a lot of people are calling for the boycott of Coca-Cola over this. I don't know if I can boycott it. It's stupid, and it's one of the reasons why I seem more to the right, because right now that's where some battle lines are being drawn that I'm not comfortable with, and it has nothing to do with white fragility. It has to do with human fragility. I don't like the fact that they seem perfectly capable to just lump everybody in. Everybody who voted for Trump is now a bigot. Every white person is to blame for whatever. I take that personally because of who I am, who I know myself to be. But there was a great comment that was made on one of these posts. The first people of color was white. You just blew my mind, comes Utopian's reply. Think about that. It's weird because Africa is the cradle of civilization, which probably means the first people that we would recognize as, human beings, Homo sapien and all that other stuff aside, they probably weren't white. So at one point, whites were the minority. Whites were the other color. They would be the people who would be referred to at that time as people of color by the masses, I suppose. It's just a weird way of thinking about things, but it really shows you how utterly insignificant race should really be. You should just treat a person by how that person is. It's kind of that simple. So, little California news. The organizers of the Recall Newsom effort, I signed it myself. Put my John Hancock right on there. Are we still allowed to say John Hancock, or was he canceled? I'm not sure. I'll have to look in the book, see what the new rules say about him. But it really brings up a little interesting point here. They are verifying each and every signature on that recall petition. Something they refused to do for the national election. And what bothers me about it is that we're supposed to move past the last election. We're supposed to accept Kamala Harris as Joe Biden as president. But the very same things that we were complaining about with these mail-in ballots, now they're doing it. Now that it affects them, somebody that they were hoping would be a presidential candidate someday, they're going to verify the signatures, and they already have. And they're clipping at something like an 85% success rate for the recall effort. So looks like they're going to have the signatures. whatever. It'll probably be another Democrat. But it's just gross that they put the hypocrisy on display like this. And then nobody seems to even wince at it. Like, you realize that you can't put your ideology above what's good for you or what's good for your country. And right now, it seems like people are willing to tolerate any level of corruption as long as it's on their team. And that's fine when you're talking about something like football or, contestants on Survivor, Big Brother, something like that, But, for something as important as the leadership, and we see that segueing in here to a little bit of the vid, I don't want to go through all these boring numbers, but basically, New York locked everything down. Florida didn't. Florida doesn't rely as heavily on public transport. They certainly, we know about these nursing home deaths. And that's something to, really think about. The stuff that's coming out about Cuomo right now, like how many people sided with him against Trump, and now look at how it turns out. He directly did things that led to people dying. I was talking earlier about, thinking that the government's going to fix everything, and this is another reason why I don't believe the Democrats have the right plan. If the answer to all of our problems was government spending, we'd be living in a utopia by now. And we're not, because their way of solving things is basically throw money at it and forget about it. There's no follow through. And there's no real planning. They get an idea in their head and they just run with it, and they assume because they thought it's going to work out fine. And that's not how real life works, and that's why some of the things that have been done, especially in this last year, are so lopsidedly bad one way, from Antifa to COVID lockdowns, I don't see where the Democrats even came close with their ideas. None of them worked. Blame Trump. That didn't seem to do much. And speaking of Antifa, they're still active. They're still up there in Seattle. The media just doesn't want to talk about it, but it's still happening. And you have a government in the state and in the city that isn't doing shit about it. And I don't understand why that doesn't ring bells with people. I understand you hate Trump. You don't want to be a Republican, but that's why something like Purple State needs to exist. Because we need to be able to move off of our current team and get on a team that's at least taking the best of both worlds, or at least trying to. I'm like America. I ain't perfect, but at least I strive to be. Yeah, fastest things on earth. The cheetah, the airplane, the speed of light, and Democrats abandoning black voters after elections. Again, they have, playing all of these race politics and stuff, and then at the end of the day, just saying, okay, how about this? We're just going to blame white people for everything. I don't understand how that fixes the situation. People should blame themselves for their situations. You can improve yourself. That's what it's all about here in America. Everybody has an opportunity. We can't guarantee results, but it's just like a weight loss program. Individual results may vary, but it's about how hard you try. Lots of people with zero ladders and steps up in life and zero privilege have succeeded because they work hard and they do what needs to be done. They make the sacrifices. There's a reason why there's a reason why people become famous musicians and famous athletes and things along those lines, because they never stop trying. But as soon as you are handed an excuse, it's like a get out of trying for free card. You could just give up and just blame whatever problem somebody told you could blame. I'm going to look again, you're going to stay kind of on this theme of, why it seems like I have to lean to the right so much. But, right there, over 800,000 Americans filed for unemployment, and Biden is introducing a bill to give illegal alien citizenship. And I support the whole idea of, hey, you're here, you might as well be legal. But I also know from people who I've known, not everybody takes advantage of that. But again, it's a matter of priorities. The priority should be on fixing America, not worrying about all these other stupid pet projects. You know, immigration, climate, you know, blame Whitey for class, you know, in schools and in businesses. No. You know, priorities, folks. You got Antifa running around trying to burn down buildings. You got COVID. You've now got the problem in Texas, and you've got all of these states that are on the verge of bankruptcy because they had no revenue for a year. That's the shit you need to fix first. Then you can start worrying about other things. But it's priorities. That's, you know, but what's his priority? Calling a lid at 8 a.m. I mean, that's almost like saying, you know, we're just not going to do anything for the rest of the day. So like an employee who comes in, punches in, and takes a nap. You know, and then the media wants to run with the whole Ted Cruz Texas thing because he went on vacation. I mean, but they don't want to really talk about Cuomo. I mean, since they got brought up, let's look at that really quick. I mean, Cruz didn't cost lives. Cruz didn't cost jobs or anything along those lines. He went on vacation. It's a poor, what they call an optic. It looks bad, but it's not actually bad. It looks bad. It might be stupid, dumb thinking, but the end result is nothing really got changed. Whereas people like Cuomo and Newsom, you know, the media loves these two guys, but look what they've caused. You know, they're just crushing people in California, especially restaurants. They're not even allowed to turn on outdoor televisions. And like when they're pressed about why they can't turn the TV on, they talk about the Super Bowl, which already happened, and reassessing the situation. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, you are so afraid of the number of dead that you're just going to crush everybody. You're just crushing every person who was trying to live the American dream. And you're not doing anything about it. You're going to give them money, but when you break the money down, I doubt it's going to be enough. You know? It's just a mess. And, you know, for too long, everybody just blamed Trump and nobody did shit about it. You know? Biden's playing Mario Kart. You know, you talk about, you know, Trump would go golfing and they'd be like, hey, as thousands die of COVID, Trump goes golfing. But, you know, they play up Joe Biden playing Mario Kart is like, look, he's relatable. You know, you're young, you play Mario Kart, so does Joe. And that doesn't serve any purpose. I mean, hey, look, if you're on Joe's side, yeah, you love it because they're making him look good. They're making him look relatable. But in reality, what they're really doing is just covering up his incompetence. And is that really what you want? You want the media to cover up for our leaders' incompetence and their corruption? Come on. You know, he's sending money to the Wuhan virology, the V-Lab. You know? Where it's priorities. There could be plenty of reasons why he's doing that, but it's asinine. And honestly, that's the kind of stuff Trump would never have done. You know? I mean, people say that what Joe's done so far is all great and everything, but all he's really done is committed us to spending money on organizations that actually work against us and are completely backed by the Chinese, who are never going to play along with the Paris Accord. They're never. Every time we don't buy oil, they're just going to buy it for cheaper. That's what's going to happen, folks. That's what's going on. I'm sending 100 to Texas to help out. No, Joe, Texas has cracked pipes, not crack pipes. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. Or whatever, you know. His son went through some stuff, but, you know, I can sympathize there, but it's the other stuff that's just gross. Again, here, you know, people are out of work, countries, you know, struggling, and they're wasting time trying to figure out how to make sure that Trump can't have his name on a building. Like, motherfucker, he'll just buy one, man. He'll just buy a building and put it up there, and you could argue about all of his finances and how much he's worth and all that crap. That's great. That's called deflection. The truth of the matter is this is what they're wasting their time on. More stuff on Trump. Because that's all they have. That's all they have. That's all they're offering. They're not trying to get the kids back to school. They're not trying to figure out something that they can do maybe to make sure that this never happens again. No, they're going on with their petty vendetta because he beat Hillary. Whatever. Biden's up there saying that concentration camps and genocide are different norms. That is condoning it. That is condoning it. That's saying, well, but fine, you going to believe Joe? When he says this, that it's just different because of China. Then what about our own history? Right? We're getting our chops busted about slavery. Was it slavery wrong? Sure. Of course it was wrong. But it's what was done at the time. And before that time and even today, there's still people being used as slaves all over the planet. 1,000,000 plus in India, 1,000,000 plus in China. We know this. It's still going on. But again, different times, different norms. If you want to say that, then you got to stop with the other side. You can't sit there and talk about things like reparations if you're saying that what the Chinese does is just different norms. Well, back then in the pre-1600, slavery was okay with everybody. So that was a different norm. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Here in the middle, we're just going to condemn slavery. Period. It was bad. But we can't sit here and try to fix a problem that we had nothing to do with. It's ridiculous. It's a dumb idea, and all it's doing is trying to attract votes. But like we already know, they just abandoned that black vote. They get it with their talk, and then they just let them down. And man, I hate that more than anything. So Biden's press secretary, circle back, was asked what Biden was doing for the small business, and her answer was, first and foremost, he nominated a woman to lead the Small Business Administration. Yay, okay. So he gets woke points? Is that how this works? Like, my business closed, help me, woman good. Oh, okay, but what's she going to do? I mean, is there a plan? I mean, that seems to be the most important part of the answer. That's what she led with. Hey, don't forget that he gets woke points. Okay. Disney has the Death Star attacking Gina Carano. He's using the shield of free speech. Again, she pointed out something very valid. And, these are just clear lines in the sand. This is what they're going to do. They are so afraid of the truth that they are going to silence people who speak out against the lies. People who speak out and say, hey, wait a minute. Do you not see what you're doing? Because I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing to protect the same people that the left protects. I don't want the Republicans doing mean and awful stuff. I don't want them censoring the left. I don't want them silencing anybody. Nobody should be silent. We live in a time where you can get to the bottom of things, where you can find the evidence, you can find the argument that changes your mind, or, whatever. And not everything that comes out of the right is right. I'm purple. I'm not one of those red or blue. This one cracked me up. Heroic Ted Cruz travels to Cancun to lasso the sun and bring it back to Texas. I think the real joke on that is that's sort of how the mainstream media, the propaganda machine that's out there, would sell it if he was a Democrat. Again, this goes back to what we've sort of been talking about tonight. That, the guy in Florida was criticized for not closing beaches while the media ignored the nursing homes. You see, that's dangerous. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to people whose side is wrong. It should be what is right, what is correct, not who It should be what? What is correct, not who is correct. Big difference. And that's what the media should be about. What is the right solution? What is the truth about being outdoors? You know how many you hear about, like, up in Berkeley, athletes can't exercise outdoors. It's like, oh, okay. But that's one of the safest places to be. You know? It just... We talked about this briefly, that, you know, the Democrats seem to want the outcome. They want the world to be fair, and they want the outcome to be the same for everybody. And that's almost a pure definition of communism, just so you understand. Like this whole so-called leveling of the playing field. You know? But Republicans and myself believe this world is unfair. Everybody should get a chance. I had a lot of chances. I blew a lot of chances, man. You know, I made bad choices with my life. You know? I could lay a lot of blame right at the feet of a bottle, man. But it was mine. I blew it. You know? Whatever. I like this one. Me after putting a copy of Capital by Marx in the dieting section. Oh, man, that's good. That's classic. I included this one just because I came across it, and this so describes me trying to find my way out of the cave after mining for 3 straight hours. This is definitely the best weekend meme I saw. I know there was a ton of them out there, but this is the one I like because, oh my God, I've been in that so many times playing Minecraft where I'm just like, oh shit, how do I get out of this mine shaft? Oh man. And we end it with my favorite right here. Socialism was a taco. A little bit of cheese and just a couple scraps of lettuce. And that's, again, kind of sums up one of the reasons why I got to be on the side that I'm on right now, man. You know? I'm coming up on my 52nd episode. This is number 51. Special effects. When I started this, man, it was kind of like I wanted to be in the middle, and I didn't really care about either side. I really have lost all faith in politicians. I think Trump was doing a good job at the time and really excited me about these outsiders, you know, people who weren't already just like deep into the party or deep into the politics. But, you know, to a year later realizing that we're in a way fighting against socialism, you know, after living through the Cold War and things like that, you just think, man, one side is acting like the brown shirts of Nazi Germany that I read about and that I've watched tons and tons of documentaries on, and the socialists who were, you know, the Stalins, other bad people, you know, Castro, that dude down in Venezuela. You know, I know they think that it's going to be socialism like they have in the Scandinavian countries, you know, this democratic socialism, but we've seen in the last 4 years how these people act. And that's not what we're heading towards. We're heading towards what they call a controlled democracy. And we're not going to like the results, you know. By the time the shit hits the fan really, really bad, I probably won't even be on this planet anymore. So, you know, but my daughter will be. You might be. So that's something to think about. Before we fuck it all up, think about it. Maybe it's time to drop your ideology and look for something in the middle. We have to do something, because one side is just out to destroy everything. And, you know, they're playing for keeps. And if you're on the fence or if you're on the right, you know, unfortunately, this is the situation we find ourselves in, and we're going to have to fight back, you know. And we can't sit there and make up bullshit that could be easily checked, you know. Keep the facts. Keep, like they say, keep your powder dry, keep your facts dry. Copious out.